Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. I'm excited for this one. This is a bit of an odd one. Julian delivered a bunch of Belemnites. I've probably already worked a lot of them on the channel. This will be one of the later ones. And you can see here that this is the core that's already exposed. So this one's split. And because it's split, we get to actually be a little bit more creative about this one and actually cut a stone out of it. So we'll remove all of this sand most likely. Maybe we'll use it as a base and just kind of cut it flat. But because of how absolutely gem crystal this is and how clean it is, I think this will look too bad through the face. And this will be the face. You can see that there's not much there yet. Small chip, color. But all the exposed opal, which is thickest on this end, is just incredible. Just fingers of opal coming through. So we're going to go through and treat this a lot less like a belemnite and more like a gem piece of crystal. The only thing I'm a little worried about is how much thinner it gets up this end to this end. Like here we've got so much thickness to play with. Here, very little. So we'll have to be pretty delicate with it anyway. And yeah, I don't know what I'll do with this. It'd be nice if... I think the crystal's going to be too clean, but if it was more of a white opal, I could cut this on an angle to kind of sit nicely kind of like this to reveal this whole face. This seam of sand going through the guts of it as well is a little bit concerning, but because I don't really see it go all the way through here and I don't see it pretty much at all up this end, I think we can work that one out and we should be left with something that, well, whatever faces on the end of these fingers of color. And you can see it's got everything. So nice purples, reds, greens, orange, yellow. Every part of the spectrum is in this piece. And we're going to see if we can get it looking a lot better than it is right now. So from this to an absolute gem is what we're hoping for. And to do that, we're going to go sintered diamond. I'm probably not going to go all the way to an 80 grit. This stuff's pretty delicate and I don't have a lot of crust or material to remove. So I think we'll go somewhere around the 240-ish, take that off, 600 to just finish it up, get the color out, and then just Nova points and cerium oxide. So let's get into it. So I ended up selecting the 120 grit sintered diamond burr. There were some areas that I realized had to come down quite a long way, otherwise I might have gone for the 240. And here you can see we're just going through pretty quickly, taking off all the crust. That's really all you want to do with the 120 grit. It's too aggressive to start working edges. If you start working edges, you're going to get chips and you're going to have to fix those later. So it's best not to create them in the first place. Just go over all the thick crusty areas. Go down to the point where you can just start seeing the color come through. Like there, you can see I'm twisting it constantly. I've sped it up a lot, but constant checking and only hitting areas where all I see is crust. Once you start seeing color, you kind of back off and we'll save that for the 600. And then here we go. This is the point where we go to the 600. I realize there's a pretty deep little sand spot there, and even though there's a bit of color on it, it's too ugly to keep in. So we're gonna get rid of that one. It's on a corner. So when it's on a corner, instead of just drilling into it, what you want to do is you want to round the edge. And a lot of the time you can round the edge and get rid of it. Unfortunately, there's another sand pocket that will hit below that. And we'll see that in the next section after I take a little pause and have a look at the stone again. Well, this isn't going quite according to plan. The fingers, though present, are actually surprisingly dim. It's not as bright as I would have liked. You can see that the streaks are forming if I just change the angle a little bit. Even on an angle like this, you can see that those lines are forming. They're just actually not as bright and a little bit directional compared to what I thought. And then you get the ends of the fingers here. It's very Ethiopian-like. But on this side, we've got absolute vibrancy, but inclusions. Now, these inclusions, some of them are not playing nice at all. If I get on the right angle here, you can see I've started etching away at this one here, and we've basically gotten rid of it. Still got a little bit of sand there, and you'll see that the tunnel actually comes out here. So that sand spot there is the same one that goes in here. The good thing is that this is already a broken piece of belemnite because we're missing this side. This squid must have been absolutely huge, by the way. I haven't seen one that would have been that big before. But you can see here we've got a lot to work with, so we can actually get rid of this. Over here, this black inclusion though, this one is going to be a bit of a pain because I can actually see the sand backing on the other side. If you have a look here, we're talking about the inclusion being down here, just there. And you can see we're butting up close to that sand. So I don't think I can actually get rid of that one. And then the little groove, I mean, these little grooves rarely ever go away. And we're running out of room on that one as well. So that will probably, I mean, it will definitely stay a groove. We've also got a little bit of sand just here below the groove. And I can actually see on the end here how deep in that sand is. And it's pretty deep. To get rid of that, we would have to cut it all the way down as well. So we're going to have to keep that little bit of sand there, the little groove. Though I think I can clean out the groove a little bit more. There's a little bit here that I think we can get rid of. And yeah, there's not a lot more to do. I'm hoping that the vibrancy of these fingers gets a little bit better as I go through the novas and take off a little bit more from this end. But it's not as crystal clean as I thought, or as vibrant as I thought. This side is definitely what I expected. This is incredibly vibrant. That area there caused troubles, and it's still got these dark inclusions, which is annoying, and they're probably not going to come out. But where there is color, there's amazing color. I mean, look at that roll over. And I think this little spot here, this sand tunnel that's going through here, we can get rid of. But there are going to be some things that we're going to have to leave in and just polish up as is. Even though this is a really broken up piece, I really don't want to lose all of this area here and basically all of this tail end over here. I can't just carve away that much. This is already a deep cut for me. I wouldn't normally do this if it was not already this broken up and we were only working with one side wall basically. I would not have dug in that deep, but this time I will, and I'll get rid of that sand, and then we're just going to have to polish it up and hope for the best. Because, I mean, this color is amazing. I just can't believe that these fingers are not presenting themselves here all that well. This is almost jelly opal like. Who knows, maybe it's just another millimeter down or less. We'll see when we get to the polishing stages. Let's keep it under the knife and keep going. And we're back to it. So with the 600, we're just going to get rid of that little sand tunnel. You'll see that I come at it from both sides over and over again, constantly flipping. I don't want to work one side too much and not the other side. You'll also notice that I'm not drilling directly into it with the smallest sintered diamond burr that I've got, and that's because I know I have to be able to hit this area with the nova points. And this is a classic case where I have to use the small nova points because the large ones would not fit in this gap. So I'm measuring it up with my sintered diamond to make sure that I can still hit it with my novas. If I can't reach the novas into the deepest point of the valley, we're not going to get a polish. So you'll see here, using each of the nova points, going from 280 grit, 600, 1200 and 3000, then finishing off with some cerium oxide. And you can just see that I'm focusing on hitting the entire surface. One small thing to keep in mind that isn't normally a problem is once I get to the 1200, 3000 and cerium oxide, I'm being careful not to hit the sand. If you hit the sand, it might be me being overcautious, but I do worry about the grit of the sand getting dislodged and then scraping across the face of the stone. So I avoid it just because I don't know the hardness and I don't know the grit. Also with the cerium oxide, I'm keeping it very wet. Otherwise you might start baking some cerium oxide into the imperfections and also the mud. And that's the way you avoid that. Alright, and this is it. My fingers are wet, so it's still going to look a little bit wet. The polish on it, I'm not actually happy with though. So I've decided I'm going to set all of Julian's Belemnites aside and come back to them on a live stream. And we're just going to touch them up, and I can do that while chatting about other things. So it's a good time to get through people's questions and stuff. So I will be doing a touch up and repolish of basically all of them. I'll give them at least a little rub with the cerium oxide just to give them a bit of an extra shine. But you can see on this one I've flattened this so that it's kind of designed to stand that way. So I've used that little sand bed for something, and just, if you look across here, flattened it out a little bit. It cracks and dips in over here, so I didn't want to grind this all the way back to that level. So it's enough to get standing. So it's alright, and it can also stand, not in that direction, it can also stand on that side as well, depending on what Julian wants, but I would imagine he'd want this side facing. It's the part with the best colour. There's this little section over here that's a little bit disjointed, and you can see it's cut in quite a long way. That was a lot of work in there just to get rid of that sand tube that was going through. A little bit of a sand imperfection. Of course, the black ones, they're not gone because they're right onto the sand. And you can see here that those fingers, like right here, this end looks amazing. These fingers are pretty vibrant on this end compared to what they are on the side here. And you can see that these fingers extend to the bottom, and then on the bottom you've got this little dispersed kind of smattering of colour. I don't know why, but it's nowhere near as bright as I first expected it to be, just based on this end. So it just faces a lot better in this direction, those fingers. A little bit disappointing. It goes a little bit jelly opal-like towards this side and bottom edge. Really, it's only this top section that's really vibrant. A bit disappointing. Probably, it's definitely not one of the better ones that came out of Julian's bundle, the latest bundle. But it's pretty unique, and because of how choppy it is already, there is potential for a lot of slicing off of parts. I'd not be upset at anyone that decided to cut this up into little pieces or anything like that. It's probably a little bit too good to double it, but I could definitely see people cutting this up because it's not really that obvious that it's a belemnite anymore anyway, except for the little center tube. You can really just cut this and do whatever you want to it really at this point. It's already been hacked at so much. Either way, a pretty interesting piece. It's very different to the other ones that I've been working on. Most of them are finished now. I think I've only got 1 or 2 to go, but I don't know what order these videos come out anyway. So who knows, this could be one of the later ones because it's probably one of the least interesting ones that came out of this bundle. But still, this being the least interesting is saying a lot because it is so bright from this top side, just not so much from this side or the underside. But it is what it is, and if you guys can check out the live stream when it comes up, I will definitely be showing this opal off again because this one does need a little bit more work. It's pretty complicated up in here, and that's the area that has the most color, so it's the one that I want to get the shiniest. So yeah, I'll see you in the future and we'll touch all these up live. Feel free to ask questions and everything in the comments now, but I will have a live stream where we can chat in person. Well, in person online. Hopefully I'll see you there.